I just had one of those Arby's brisket sandwiches. Oh my God, I feel like my arteries are clogging up. Like, that shit is too heavy. It's entirely too heavy. I'm gonna go back to eating, you know, Asian food. Cause I can't eat that. I can't eat stuff that heavy. Like, I've been cutting back, and then I said, oh, let me cheat today, and I went and had one of them sandwiches, and oh God, that shit. I can feel my arteries clogging up already. Anyway, a lot of people want to hear my commentary on this post-election Donald Trump situation. Black Truth Professor, Professor Black Truth. I don't know why I say Black Truth Professor. I'm like dyslexic. Professor Black Truth. He took the words out of my mouth in both of his videos. The last two videos that he uploaded, I haven't finished the very last one he uploaded, but I got maybe like 10 minutes into it, 10, 20 minutes into it. He's talking about, Kamala Harris and voting for dummies and people doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And, I agree with him wholeheartedly and about the fact this was a golden opportunity that was wasted. It was a golden opportunity to send a shock to the system and, let the Democrats know that they can't take us for granted. It was not about, embracing Donald Trump because we love and appreciate and co-sign every single thing that Donald Trump is doing. I noticed a lot of people have been jumping up and shouting, what has Donald Trump done for the black community? And even though you can point to things, I noticed that they don't understand that the whole not voting for the Democrats is about putting the Democrats in check, not about what's going on with the Republicans. Like, if I have, the black people have had a relationship with the Democratic Party for the last 50, 60 years, whatever. So that's who I have the issue with, right? That's who black people should have the issue with. Not the party that we don't deal with, we have no agreements with, right? They stay in their corner, we stay in our corner. Don't tell me about what that thought over there is doing. Again, if you break up with somebody because you felt that you're being mistreated or you felt that, they weren't paying attention to whatever your dissatisfaction is, and they start bringing up some other person or the new person that you're trying to date or whatever and talking about how terrible they are, it's like, yo, I don't have a history with them like I got a history with you. Now if you want to come back to the negotiating table and we can talk about, what went wrong with our relationship, then we can do that. But don't just sit there and deflect over to, a person that I have no history with, but I got plenty of negative history with you. And I see a lot of black people doing that, and a lot of, the Democrat types, the liberal types that want to tell black people how they should vote. They're like, oh, well, Donald Trump was this, and he's racist, and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, nah, again, the whole point of not voting for Democrats is to check the Democrats, because that is the party that we have a relationship with. That is the party that we essentially have a social contract with that has not been fulfilled on their end. It's like black people do not understand, how to negotiate. They don't understand how to vote strategically. Do you have any idea how much of a shock to the system black people not voting for, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would have been? Do you not realize how much they would not have won this election if black people didn't come out and vote at 90% for black women and 80% for black men? You see how close the election was? They couldn't have won without black people. And yet it's still nothing but, more of the same. You think, why should the Democratic Party change and do anything for black people? They don't have to. no matter what they do, you're going to vote for them anyway. No matter what they do. You know, again, black people are like a beat and battered woman, or a woman in an abusive relationship who won't leave the dude. It's like, leave him. He's treating you like shit. Oh, but I love him. I love him. Like, they will not leave. And then they'll just keep complaining about how they're abused, and it's just so terrible, and nothing's changed. I'm like, leave him. If you're not going to leave him, then he's just going to keep on cheating on you. He's got no reason to change. Why is he going to change? So what? I'm going to sleep with these other bitches. So what? You still going to be here tomorrow? You're not leaving. Your bags aren't packed by the door. You're not going anywhere. I don't need to leave. You see, and so, you know, when I'm listening to black people talk, I'm like, you don't know how to do anything strategically. That's just how I feel about it. You know, and I'm still, you know, upset, you know, with black people. You know, and then it's like, even with like black women and voting for Biden and Kamala at 90%, 91%. You got 20% of black men that voted for, you know, Donald Trump. Right? And you got these women running around talking about, they voted for Donald Trump because they hate black women. Right? Black women been claiming themselves to be the wokest of woke people forever. They're so woke. They know where they're leading the black community. All that. Right? And we all know that there's been promises made, you know, to the black community. We know that when you look at the black community, that nothing has changed, you know, since the 60s. If anything, it's gotten worse. We know, everybody can see it. It's point blank obvious. And yet these black women that call themselves, you know, progressive, right, and claim that they're all about black empowerment and Black Lives Matter, which is a farce, because it's really LGBT feminist lives matter. That's what it's all about. Not just the organization, but all these black women that claim to be so goddamn woke. You know, black men are zeroed in on several things. Democratic Party hasn't done anything for the black community. And it's abundantly obvious that the Democratic Party is all about the LGBT, QRXYZ, and feminist, and you know, everything about men is toxic, and manhood should be eradicated, right? Again, and especially at a time when we've been having all these conversations over the years about the black community, the gender roles, the roles of men in the community. You got women, you know, talking about how, you know, they're not getting with black male leadership, this, that, and the third, unless X, Y, and Z is fixed, right? They take what black men have been identifying and addressing and throwing it right back in black men's faces, right? But yet somehow we have this scenario or situation where black men are supposed to take on the same burden of responsibility underneath matriarchy or the gynocracy that they would underneath patriarchy. See, I already knew that this is the direction that shit was going on, you know, with the Grapevine, which I used to watch a great deal of, you know, when they first came out. They were talking about, you know, some serious black issues that, you know, we didn't have a voice. You wouldn't see it on daytime television. But then I started noticing, you know, the undercurrent of LGBT, and then it was just so blatant and overt that I couldn't help it but notice it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you got the Aisha and the Uchachi and the Donovan, you know, and when they came out with that, you know, we must eliminate all forms of oppression, and patriarchy was underneath that banner of oppression. And they were saying things like, we must eliminate the heteronormative, cisgendered, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. You know what I mean? You got to inhale just to say this shit, right? When they started saying all that, I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. When they started diving into it, basically, you know, everything that black men do is evil, when, you know, a lot of times these are the same guys that these women think are sexy. The more toxic you are, the more vagina, or I like how people are saying it now because they want to be monetized and everything. The more viscosity you get, right? The more toxic you are as a black man, the more viscosity you get. Nobody can deny that. That is a fact of life. For further evidence, I direct you to the fathers of all these kids out of wedlock out here. You know, you don't see the black men, you know, that, you know, check all the boxes for what would be like marriage material husbands and, you know, the men that you would want to start a family with. You don't see them, you know, with passing on their DNA. You know, you don't see women giving them immortality. They give immortality to the Dusties. Y'all seen that story? I was watching Willie D. He had some story with some chick, and the boyfriend did a triple homicide, killed the sister, killed the mama, killed the girlfriend that was pregnant and everything. I'm like, you know, and I love to see sisters try to throw that up and put that on a bunch of ELs, you know, and other type of black men, you know, just in these black men, this is what they do to us because they don't value the black woman. You know, they go and say all that shit. I'm like, that's the type of nigga that she was fucking with. But you can't say it. You can't call it out. It's got to be, no, it's the evils of black men because every black woman is wifey material and an equality woman, you know, who is deserving of love and respect and adoration and desirability and everything else that they want to fill into that, you know, that bag of goodies that they always like to throw up on the table. You know, but you know, just looking at it, you know, it's like, nah, black men are, you know, we've been talking about this for months, if not years, about this issue of, you know, political alignment and, you know, what demands need to be made. You know, I mean, black men have been on this conversation since, you know, starting with, you know, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and, you know, Fred Hampton and, you know, Dr. Claude Anderson and Amos Wilson. I mean, the videos are all on YouTube. You know, all these conversations are, you know, on YouTube. You know, these black and white clips and everything. These are not new conversations. We're saying the same thing that the woke individuals in the black community were saying in the 60s. It's no different. You know, and, you know, I don't know why it fell off. You know, deindustrialization, lack of jobs, lack of economic opportunities, the dumping of drugs in the black community, mass incarceration. I mean, hell, I mean, Huey P. Newton died, you know, supposedly, you know, a heroin addict and with a drug deal that went bad and got shot and killed. You know, I mean, all type of stuff happened. But I think the biggest factor is, you know, the lack of economic opportunity. Once you don't have control of the money, once you don't have control of the opportunities, you're going to have a tough time setting the pace and setting the standard. And then once you had the drug dealers, once they were making a killing, you know, then that flipped the neighborhoods on their head. Because the people that are supposed to be setting the standards and supposed to have the opportunities that they can cut people off of, now you got young guys that are out here flipping keys, and they have more power than the pastors and the preachers and some of the more prominent educated people in the community. And then the neighborhood gets so bad that the educated people move out. I mean, it's a whole, you know, I mean, we could spend hours talking about, you know, all the things that have happened, right? But I'm looking at this from the standpoint of, you know, the divergence of black men and black women. And, you know, this whole, the election speaks to it. You know, the majority of black men are in the inner city, you know, with their single mamas. You know, I mean, that's where black people disproportionately reside, in areas of poverty where there's no, you know, patriarchal fathers, there's single mothers. And so, yeah, majority of black men are going to be out here, you know, that 80% are going to be voting like their mama, like Chance the Rapper said, vote like your mama, vote like Big Mama. Talk about keeping black men in a childlike state. I mean, god damn. Vote like your mama. But anyway, I'm saying, I think it's going to be an ever-growing 20%. Or excuse me, growing from 20% that the Republicans are going to get. Again, not as support of the Republican Party, but more as an affront to the Democratic Party. And people, I don't know what it is that people don't understand that. Because, again, everybody's claiming, oh, we so woke. Okay, so why are you still voting politically for the party that isn't uplifting the black community? And whenever I turn on MSNBC and CNN, I keep seeing the same, unwed, LGBT black women don't have a man, don't want a man, focused on power. The Democratic Party is, that's what they want to do. They want to elevate black women. And in black, you call that shit out, and black women, you're just jealous, and this, that, and the third, right? That's what these feminist LGBT women will say. And then these other black women that, they like the part where these women look like they're gaining power and political power and all this. They like that shit, but they completely ignore the fact that most of them women up there either don't have a man or don't want a man. They just want power. The problem with your everyday run-of-the-mill black woman is they want power and they want a man. And as I've talked about, the only way that you're going to have power in a relationship and have a man is you got to go out there and get with a subordinate man. Going back to that clip that The Way TV posted of the Grapevine, of their little Patreon whatever clip that they had, and you had Aisha K. Faines, Women Love Power, MissWomenLovePower.com herself. And when Carl suggested that, she gonna have to essentially, date a subordinate man, she got in her feelings.
People need to do a better job of figuring out what works for them and what type of person works for them. Right. So, no offense, most of the women that appear on this show probably would do better with a man that would be, I guess, more beta, softer, just because a lot of the women on this show are just aggressive. It's the same thing with women in my family. For the most part, the women in my family do good with softer dudes. Miles shaking his head, but this is gonna be,
I've never dated a soft dude. I'm not really sure.
Neither have
I don't know what that's like.
Are you with somebody now?
Wait.
I sure am, and everyone has been strong and powerful, but go on ahead.
Yeah, but you're not with them. That's the whole point. I'm just talking about successful relationships. That's the point.
I said, you asked me if I was dating. Yes.
Yeah, but we're talking about successful relationships, ones that actually last.
Okay, can I?
That call.
Yeah, I let everyone talk. I didn't even get a chance.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, whoa, Miss Women Love Power. Women are going to the moon and back. We out here killing it. We got to know how to manipulate men to get what we want and this, that, and the third. I mean, that's what this woman said. That's her whole MO. That's her whole platform. Women love power. So I'm like, okay, you want power, but what? You want the idea that you have a man? That you have this powerful man? Let me be clear. Not just have a man, but you have a powerful man. What is it? You only want him to be powerful in the bedroom? But you somehow want that power to trickle out of the bedroom where only in title he's powerful? You don't like the idea of being a woman that's with a man that's weaker than you? But this is what you advocate for on a daily basis. Then when Carl actually spells it out and actually says it, she's got a fucking problem with it. I'm like, you're not making any sense, Aisha K. Faines. You're not making any sense. And I'm not even saying that just to rip on her. I'm like, help me to understand this. This is the woman whose whole platform and profile and website is dedicated to women getting power. Any talk about patriarchy is disgusting to this woman. And then Carl says you need to get with a man that's subordinate, and she loses her. I only deal with powerful men. Like, what? What powerful men are you dealing with? You don't like patriarchy. That don't even make sense. How can you be a woman that says that I only deal with powerful men, but yet your whole rhetoric, your whole platform is dedicated to circumventing the idea of men, especially black men, being more powerful than you? You're not making sense. I don't even know how these people get a platform or how they're even able to do what they do when they don't make sense. There's no consistency in what they're saying. I'm trying to follow you. I'm not even smacking it down. I'm like, okay, this is what you want to do. Okay, well, all right, you want to be in the dominant position. This is what comes with being with the dominant position. And women really have a problem with that. Black women specifically. They want the power, but none of the responsibility. They want the power and somehow still maintain this feminine, dainty white woman on a white lily pad position. I'm like, that's impossible. You can't be the subordinate and the dominant at the same time. Like, it's like you're trying to be the sadist and the masochist at the same time. How is that possible? Those are two distinctly different roles. If one person is playing the dominant position, the other person has to play the subordinate position. That's just how it works. And y'all really don't like the idea of weak men. I mean, hell, most of y'all are only attracted to savages, pure savages. You don't like the idea of weak men, but you also don't like the idea of powerful men telling you what to do. So I'm like, how does this work? I don't know how this is supposed to play out. And so, I just see this rift between black men. It's going to get bigger. It's going to widen. Hold on a second. All right. Knew they were closed. I tried, but whatever. But anyway, this rift it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get bigger. And I mean, I just watch. Do y'all not see it when you watch MSNBC and CNN? All these, butch women that are up there. All these feminist, female empowerment women that are up there. No, I mean, I've been calling this shit out for years. The sheer number of black women that are on MSNBC is crazy. It's crazy. And the crazy thing is like, even before this election and the last election, it's like if black women were voting at 90-something% for the Democrats, black men were right there at 90% or 89%. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go back and you look at, when Obama was elected, they turned out in high numbers. And it's like, I don't get it. It's like, for the Democratic Party, like, black men are essentially ignored. Even though you're there, you're not there. And this is something that Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, has completely, what am I saying? Something that Dr. T. Hassan Johnson has talked about ad nauseum. He's continuously brought up this talking point about high black male, voter turnout. And again, even with the growing disenchantment that black men have with the Democratic Party, us, 20%ers, and I'm saying I didn't vote for Trump or Biden. I voted down ticket. And the other policy shit, other local stuff. But I'm saying the 20%, this 20% that voted for Donald Trump, like, I just see it as that number is going to grow. You're going to have more and more black men that are going to walk away from the Democratic Party, and the black women's only response is going to be, these niggas ain't loyal. It's like, loyal to what? Loyal to the matriarchy? Loyal to role reversal? Loyal to the gynocracy? What are black men supposed to be loyal to? What are we supposed to fall in line in? If we look at the situation and we fully recognize there's nothing in there for us. I mean, absolutely nothing. And again, like, I'm tired of this back and forth between, black women who talk like, they want a better, brighter black community. They want black men to choose them, right? But yet, it's all about female empowerment, right? That's what y'all want. Y'all want to pull the dicks out and have black men choose you. That's what you want. You want all the power instead of how black men choose you. See, again, this contributes to why you have black men who go out here and they're choosing up on other races of women, not just colorism. And I'm saying even with black, the way it's just going to look is going to be, the optics on it are just going to be fucked up. It's going to be black men are, they're not voting for the Democrat because they hate black women. And these will be the same brothers that'll either go out there and vote, for Republicans, or they're going to, not just vote for Republicans. They're going to vote for Republicans and they're going to date outside the race. It's going to be those two things. Those two scenarios are going to unfold and take place.
The speed limit is 25 miles per hour.
And that's why I don't like making videos while I'm driving, because I got way too much stuff going on around me right now. I got cops all around me. I got freaking grandma doesn't know how to drive. I don't know what she's doing, but anyway. This is just what I see. I don't need to drag this video out. This is just what I see. The interpretations of why, black men are drifting away from, just basically all community politics and the black woman, because the community is a gynocracy, man. I don't know how you can't not see it at this point. It's bad. Like, it's just bad. And I really do feel like black men have, little control over the shit, or at least the ones that, think like myself. The majority of black men, in the inner city, no fathers in the home, everything Big Mama says is the gospel, they're not diving into, trying to do their research on the politics and everything. It's just gynocracy thinking. And you're not going to get strong men out of that. That's why, like, when these women file complaints about black men and, their weakness and shit like that, I'm like, well, what do you expect coming out the gynocracy? What is to be expected? As I said before, manhood, it requires training and discipline. And where is their training and discipline? Who's teaching training and discipline? When you got women who don't even get with men that can even teach training and discipline when they go out and have the child with, the man that they shouldn't have had the child with. It's just nuts. And then they say, oh, see, the black men, they're just like that. Which reinforces their, or the justifications that they're trying to make about gynocracy or matriarchy or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, it's looking like, it is what it is. And I'm saying maybe this situation has been done for a long time and we just didn't realize it. I know some other brothers, they on some, they'll try to act like they was nigga-damas on it, but I'm like, some of y'all were just quick to give up. Or some of y'all were quick to give up because, you really wanted to be somewhere else any goddamn way. But looking at it, I'm like, nah, man. Anytime a point is brought up, it's sexism, it's misogyny, it's misogynoir, it's evil black man, it's you're trying to be a white man, you're trying to, you just want power like the white man or some shit like that. I don't really want you to think about that. You got women whose whole focus, all they ever do is brag about power, and then sit there and try to slam you with the card of you want power like the white man. You know what I'm saying? Like using the white man as some sort of shaming tactic, only to turn around and then you got groups of women talking about they're going to swirl it up to get with white men because white men got all the power. Huh? Shit is retarded. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, you know, like I see all this SY what is it? SYS BM, you know, save yourself, black man. I see all these comments and I'm like, yeah, I mean, at this point it's kind of like, you know, black men just need to, you know, get in where you fit in. You know, in other words, you know, go wherever it is you feel that you need to go in order to live and operate, you know, the way that you want to operate. Because the whole like coming into the black community and turning this shit around, and you got these freaking oppositional defiant women, man. I'm like, man, not only that, you got these oppositional defiant men, you know, who co-sign and think like these women do. You know, they be ready to fight you and everything else, all because they want to, you know, be in the good graces of some fat bitch that they want the pussy from. You know, them niggas. Them niggas are ready to kill your ass because, you know, you don't give a fuck about what a bitch says. You gonna tell her how it is. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know, over there sleeping on her couch or some shit, and they coming out with the capes, trying to save her, trying to look like, you know, they really support the queen, hoping that they can get some pussy points. Like, it's like, yo, don't even waste your life fucking with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that is, I mean, you cannot one man army the matriarchy / gynocracy. You can't. You can't. The only way that black men will be able to turn this shit around is we'd have to control the economic landscape. You know, even the minority, you know, this 20% that voted for Trump, you know, we would have to control shit. We would have to control industry. We would have to provide the economic opportunities and everything. That's how you get people, you know, to swing your way when they're eating off of you. You know, and people are quicker to bite their tongue about the shit that they may disagree with you on, you know, because, you know, they eating off of you. And maybe over time, you know, they shift. You know what I mean? Because, like, man, hey, I'm able to provide this and do that because, you know, these brothers are in such and such a position. And then again, that's when you get the elite black men that get to define, you know, the ethos and the standards and the culture of the community and whatnot. But the problem with the Amos Wilsons and the Dr. Claude Andersons and whatnot is, you know, they got the ideas, they got the message, right? But they don't have the opportunities to, you know, swing men in that direction. This is the primary example of why black men are no longer in the church. Because hope does not fucking last forever when it comes to men. You know, once the jobs left the black community, the church was no longer, you know, a sender for, you know, business. You know, it was no longer a place that you went to church, yeah, you did the humming and hawing and all that shit and singing Negro spirituals and whatnot, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, you could be like, you know, there's Mr. Jacobs. Let's go over there and talk to Mr. Jacobs, you know, and try to see if I can get my son in the plant because Mr. Jacobs is a foreman at the plant. Like, that's dead. That shit is dead. You go to church, you go to the black church in the black community now, ain't no opportunities to be found in the black church. It's nothing but a bunch of single mothers and baby mamas and a bunch of, you know, reform players that are trying to either be the pastor, be the deacon, or you know, men that feel guilty about all the damage they did in the black community and probably, you know, in the church looking at some young girl. I mean that's what it is. That's why you don't see black men, you know, wasting their time sitting up in the church and whatnot. They'd rather be on that corner, you know, selling dope, flipping keys or whatever. At least they getting something out of that, something tangible out of that shit. You know, and then that's a whole nother conversation. The way that street culture has just basically just taken over everything. right? It's just completely taken over. I was watching Vigilant Arms or some shit like that, and he's like having a conversation with a liberal, and he's talking about defund the police and taking the cops out of there, and let these people sort it out with the problem that they created themselves. I mean, I got so pissed off when he said that shit. I was like, no, the problem that the system of white supremacy motherfucking created. Even when you get down to the fucking music and the shit that they constantly promote and perpetuate. Ain't up there trying to, let's help out the black community and promote positive images in the black community of the media that we own, operate, and control. Nah, fuck that. Promote the hedonism and the debauchery and the fuckery. Promote all that shit in the black community. Take out the jobs and the opportunities and whatnot. Make sure that the men can't provide for their families. Mass incarcerate, take the fathers out of the home and whatnot. That's white supremacy. I mean, white people kill me every time they try to, let themselves off of the hook. Or you got these black apologists that try to let them off the hook for the problems that we're fucking dealing with. That shit burns me up. But I don't know. I don't know I don't see where the solution is right now. I just don't. The way that it's going is the way that it's going to continue to go. These people out there celebrating. You got AKAs, they up there fucking, Kamala Harris, all this bullshit. Notice all the Indians now. Kamala Harris is Indian. Notice all the Indians. I've seen so many Indians now. They want to claim her. I'm like, you want to claim her, but let a black dude date an Indian chick and have a baby or some shit. They be out there trying to honor kill. They be out there disowning their daughter and everything. They be out there running around. The baby didn't come out light skin, all type of shit. But Kamala Harris, now that she's vice president, they gonna come through and try to claim the win. So clearly, obviously, black people, aren't the only ones that apparently do this shit. The only non-whites that do this shit. We know that white people, they don't claim shit. They're like, nigger, you can have them. But these other groups, I'm like, isn't this interesting? Now all of a sudden they want that Indians is coming out talking about, and I was just talking to an Indian woman about that shit, and she was like, yeah, I know. Because she actually has a cousin that married a black guy, and the crazy thing is, she has a cousin who married a black guy after cousin that married a black guy after the cousin married her cousins. So she married one of her other cousins because they still do that whole, marrying first cousins type of shit. She married her other two. She married the one brother that didn't work out, then married the other brother that didn't work out, and then she got with the black guy, and then now they went off happily ever after. But I was like, yeah. I'm like, isn't that interesting that now they want to claim? So she knows because she saw her go through it and all the ostracizing and everything that she had, and the way people act like, you're not keeping it in the group, but fucking this world sometimes, I swear. But way I look at it, I'm just like, and many brothers, we've already felt this. This has already been kind of like talking point that many of us really don't have any real, healthy connection heading towards anything with any purpose, with black women. Like there's no purpose behind linking up with a black woman. And then like the cultural orientations are just off. Like if you're a properly oriented black man, like I don't know where to tell you to go. The way that I see these women up there, rah, and cheering and everything else, and female empowerment and all this other stuff. I got in an argument with a woman, and this was a Hispanic woman. Got argued with the Hispanic woman, because she was on the same shit, and grabbing on the, women are making big moves and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what don't you understand about that? Women cannot control what they don't create. You know what I'm saying? Like if men don't create it first, then women can't control it. Like, what don't you understand? Even if women became president They controlled all the Congress, all the Senate, vice president, all the cabinets, make women the leaders of the world. I'm like, they can't enforce any of their shit. That's the difference between men and women. That's why men respect other men, because men can force you to do some shit or get other men to enforce you to do some shit. But it's still men dealing with other men. Women, they have this idea that they get, oh, I'm in a position of authority, I'm in a position of power, but they don't understand that aspect of, but can you beat my ass though? And they also don't understand the aspect of, okay, if you want to enforce me to do some shit, you gotta go and you gotta get another group of men with guns to freaking force me to do some shit. Like, so it's like the recognizing how you have to go to somebody else to get whatever you're trying to get done is the same recognition of disrespect that black women have for black men when they recognize that black men got to go to white men to get some shit done. This is the whole problem with us not policing our own communities. Where the black, I got to call 911. I got to go call 911, get the white man to come down here and handle this business. That's another reason why, you'll have street dudes that will get respect on that front, because regardless of right, wrong, or indifferent, illegal or illegal, when some shit goes down, some form of disrespect or whatever, a lot of times there is a response and somebody's going to get their head blown off. Like, that's just what it is. Somebody's going to get their wig split, right? That's what it is. So because of that, you're going to end up with, the situation where women give that respect. So it's like, if women will make that argument against black men and y'all understand that, I was trying to explain to this Hispanic woman, I'm like, I don't know what you don't understand about, when it's the other way around. I'm like, at the end of the day, women have to negotiate with men to get shit done, whether it's building, whether it's maintaining, or whether it's defending. And so when a woman is in a leadership position, it's because she was appointed there. Nobody's sitting there. No, like, in other words, men recognize that women are capable of making decisions and being in leadership roles. And this is the whole problem with all the gender dynamic shit, because women trying to claim that, we're just women and we can't do anything and y'all supposed to lead and everything, when women have been ramming feminism down men's throats. Ramming the idea that they know how to make decisions and they should be vice president and corporate CEO and all this other shit. But then when we get down to the interpersonal relationships, y'all don't know nothing. You're just women. Y'all men are supposed to lead us out the fire because we don't know which direction the heat is coming from, and so we don't know to walk in the opposite direction. I'm like, bullshit. All the shit that y'all talk. All the we going to the moon and back and we making decisions and doing rings around the laps around the rings and I'm like, get out of my face with that bullshit. There's too much double talk. I mean, the double talk is insane. It's insane levels of double talk. And I'm tired of it. I mean, I'm just tired of I expect it now. I expect it. And part of me wants to see, women, suffer and shit collapse and everything just based off of the, all the shit they talk. I'm like, nah, this is what you wanted. This is what comes with what you wanted. Why can't you just accept it? Don't come fucking back crying and all this other shit because shit didn't go your way. This is what the fuck you wanted. And that shit is just, it's so tiring, isn't it? It's exhausting. It's mentally draining. I'm like, you wanted this. This is what you got. Okay, so what are you bitching about? What is your complaint? This is what you wanted. So you want the power, but you still want the man to come through and do all the stuff that men, were traditionally doing, within or underneath the umbrella of patriarchy. I'm like, that's not how it works, chick. This whole, intrinsic value of women and, they just, we're women and we get to, be valued and cherished and put on a pedestal while swinging the big dick sword. I'm like, no, It don't work like that. And I don't know who told these women that. I don't know who told these women like their whole like there needs to be classes on like how civilizations were formed and why the specific roles were what they were. I mean, there just needs to be, because it seems to be like this whole unsaid code, and of the roles of men versus the roles of women. And so women, like, they just look around and they see just men and power and the abuses of power, and they don't even see their own privilege, right? But yet somehow, some way, there is still the privilege that they don't see. They're still able to beat men over the head for not giving it to them. I'm like, how do you even know this is a privilege you're supposed to receive if you want to claim that there's no privileges and that you've been nothing but an oppressed class? How do you know what you're supposed to receive? You know what I'm saying? And honestly, when you really look at it, a lot of these women just base what they're supposed to receive off of what they see other women receiving. But the stupid thing is they always ignore the position of those men and how they're able to offer their women what they receive, which is directly tied to the position that they're in relative to their women. They always overlook that part. There's always this, we get to be the queen, we pull out the big dick sword, and you all are just our peasant servants, precarious proletariat that must, serve the queens and shit like that. And black men, we've been seeing this. I mean, this has just been a thing. It's been an ongoing thing my entire life. And y'all keep asking stupid questions like, why are these black men out here getting with other races of women? I think the answer, it should be obvious by now. It's obvious. Like I said, where are all these black men running around trying to get with strong, independent white women and other non-black women? That's not what they're linking up with. They're looking for the girliest, most uber feminine, woman that they can find, obviously relative to where they are on the freaking totem pole in terms of, their finances and their, position in life. Right? Because, women understand the exchange in other groups, and, that's what you want. A beautiful woman, you better have some money. I mean, plain and simple. Unless you talk about guys that go out here and get a girl pregnant when she's young before she even realizes that she's just that pretty. So I don't know. I just see this ongoing divergence. I think it's gonna the chasm between black men and black women. Oh, it's gonna get bigger. It's gonna get bigger. The next 4 years are not gonna be anything pretty. And honestly, I think at this point, I think a lot of black men are. It's not that they're not gonna continue to have a discussion, but the breakdown. The breakdown's been done. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not really much else to add, to the conversation. The bottom line is black men and black women don't see eye to eye. From the black male perspective, black women, they're women, and they get the benefit of the doubt. But a lot of what they say is absolutely contradictory. They're selfish, and they want all the benefits. They want none of the cons. And nobody's going to deal with that. And these women can try as they may to sit there and point out dusties that they shouldn't be dealing with, and guys that come out of, the matriarchy, because, that is what it is. It is a matriarchy. Women can't even argue against, the idea that it is a matriarchy, because women get the custody. Men don't get the custody. If black men got custody of the kids and the kids was living with us, and the black boys that were coming out of our households, our single fathered households, were on some bullshit, then y'all could say that. But these young men are coming out of single mothered homes, not single fathered homes. Y'all get custody, we don't. So by default, it's a matriarchy. By default. The orientation of the boys is more influenced by their mothers than anything else. By default, because she has custodies, the boys are staying with their mothers. And then so you got boys staying with the mothers, the girls staying with the mothers. So the whole orientation is a very feminine, gynocentric orientation. I mean, that's just what it is. And only a handful of boys are going to make it out of there. I mean, that's just the facts. I mean, you gotta be a thinking young man, or you have to have, like Captain Solo's situation, have had to been in an abusive situation, and you just, I mean, like, it's like, why do children run away from home? There's typically abuse. So, and I want you to think about that, right? There's typically abuse, and the boys are running away from home, and the overwhelming majority of child runaways are running away from single mother homes. Now, it might not just be the mother. It might be the men that the mother brings into the household in the situation, like with Captain Solo's situation, where you bring in stepdads into the situation, and giving them free reign to ass whoop on your child, and there's really no commitment there. You see, but I don't know. I just don't think that this is going anywhere positive. I think that another 4 years will pass, and then people will be having another "I told you so" conversation. It'll be "I told you so," like that's what everybody will be saying. "I told you so." So it'll be a whole bunch of "I told you so" conversations. But I don't think black women are going to fold at that point. I don't think they're going to be like, "Oh, black men, you were so right. Let us fall in line." Like, that's not going to happen. It'll still be our fault. It'll be, well, we didn't vote for Donald Trump, but we voted for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden because you called me ugly. It'll be something. It'll be some emotional response. But it's frustrating because you would think that there would be that black people as a community, that we would be on the same page but I think that was the biggest mistake, or a great deal of the mistake that I made. That the thinking that black women, when they're talking about a better, brighter community, was the same as when black men were talking about a better and brighter community. Like, black men, according to black women, we're trying to go back to the 1950s, where black women are pregnant and barefoot, walking around the kitchen, raising some kids, while we go into the General Motors factory or some shit like that. When, again, black men are way more progressive than that. Black men, they don't have any issue with women working and everything. But the reality is we definitely need to stay ahead of y'all. Because that is where the power is. That is where you get to call the shots. That is where the respect is. Because when y'all don't respect black men, you make that shit known when you all don't respect black men. But the women, I didn't know that y'all were on some, smash the patriarchy. We must eliminate, the heteronormative, cisgender, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. I didn't know that y'all was on that shit. I'm hearing women talk about they hate capitalism, they hate patriarchy. Then you got all this LGBT shit. You know what I mean? I ain't heard so much shit about gays. I'm saying, I'm like, if anybody wants to talk about the LGBT community cutting in front of the black community on what they're getting from the Democratic Party, I'm sorry, but you got to blame black women on that one. Because y'all opened up the floodgates on that LGBT bullshit. Y'all just completely and absolutely opened up the floodgates on that. And I'm like, why? What did you get out of that? Again, all I saw was a bunch of transgender women jumping up and down talking about, "Bitch, I'll take your man." Like, what did you get out of including the transgender community? And I warned, I told y'all what that was about. I told you that was the black feminist bringing in, some other shit, just anything to add to their numbers and bolster their ranks, to argue for, smash the patriarchy. LGBT is non-traditional, feminists are non-traditional, right? So just adding to that. That's how even many of these women got into the colorism conversation, when their issues weren't colorism. But they'll just, it's just a way to jump up and sit there and say, hey, black women, colorism is a problem, and colorism is a part of the evil black male patriarchy, and that's why you need to reject patriarchy, right? Because they would do the same thing to black men. They were coming through and telling black men, they were like, black men, isn't the white man oppressing you with his system of oppression, his white supremacist patriarchal system and capitalist system? Yes, and that's why, black men, you should abandon, your ideas of patriarchy and fulfilling roles that white men have denied you socioeconomic political access to, and join us, feminists and black women, and we will eliminate all forms of oppression, right? But they didn't tell you that if you were to do that you would be the bitch. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't tell you that how they would view you if you dare open your mouth or try to assert yourself as a man. You know what I mean? Like you open your mouth and talk about male leadership or leading or anything like that, or who needs to follow. Oh, they'll slam you. They'll all of a sudden, patriarchy is reinstituted, and well, these are the standards of patriarchy that you're not living up to. It's like, wait a minute, you were the one that told me that we gotta eliminate all forms of oppression and that I don't need to be on what the white boys is on. Now all of a sudden you tell them, well, that's because you dared try to assert yourself. But then you sitting there and you like, but wait a minute, you saying that if some shit goes down, I got to do all the protecting and I got to go out here and sacrifice my life, women and children first on the boat and all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, that shit looks like patriarchy to me. So here we go again with, black men fulfilling patriarchal responsibilities devoid of leadership. Patriarchal responsibilities that benefit everybody else, right? And the black man is supposed to, chivalrously sacrifice himself, for, the queen, and then call it equality. There's so many word semantics going on. It's insane. Where you think you're talking about patriarchy and it's not patriarchy. You think you're talking about matriarchy, it's not matriarchy. You think you're talking about specific gender roles and shit or equality, it's not equality. Like, there's so much of that shit going on, it's insane. It's insane. Like, you don't, like, up is down is up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you gotta, turn on the freaking PlayStation. The first thing you do is invert the controller. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally what you got to do in these conversations. Up is not down. Down is not up. Up is down and down is up. Like, that's literally how you got to set it up. Invert your controller. Because, it's not going to, nobody's being honest about what they really want. Everybody's trying to mask what they want in some other shit. To sit there and call something equality and then slam men about something that is a remnant from the archaic system of patriarchy in which you don't even believe is insane. It's like, or either that or people are just woefully ignorant and they completely ignore the fact that, well, if you throw this out, then you're going to throw this out as well. And again, like I said, these women want patriarchy a la carte. I'll have some of this. I'll have some of that. Oh, chivalry. I like that. We'll take some of that. Oh, male leadership. Oh, no, you can have that. You can keep that. Literally, patriarchy a la carte. It's like the same way that the people interpret the Bible and shit like that. They be throwing scriptures at each other and da-da-da. And you point out to them, and the Bible also says that fornication, is against God's law. You know what I mean? And they'll quickly try to use some mental gymnastics around the fact that they were fornicating. And the Bible says that it's wrong for a woman to fornicate and all that other shit. So, these are the type of people that you're dealing with. People are doing whatever it is that they want to do. And they're trying to convince other people, of, this sort of stuff. I was having a conversation with somebody about how the right and the left, they're both hypocrites. It's like you got the right, they jump up and they talk about how they're all for law and order. But then when you get into the Second Amendment, they run around talking about how much, they will not comply. But then when black people get into it with police, you need to comply. Then you get the liberals. The liberals run around and they try to act like they're all about individual and personal freedom, even though the right is the one that says it's all about individual and personal freedom. But they're always the ones that always they love themselves a police state. They love police states, again, unless, of course, the police got the guns pointed at them. But the liberals say that they're all about freedom and all these personal freedoms, and then you can define yourself however you want to define yourself, but then they try to force that definition on everybody else, right? Boys or girls, girls or boys, you must address me with such and such a pronoun. I'm like, damn, that's you awfully aggressive over here. Right. And then if you look at the liberals are the ones that want to come with all the rules and all the regulations and all the high taxes. This is why people are leaving New York for Pennsylvania, leaving California for Texas. This is why these people are leaving the cities in droves and going to other cities that are, Republican and have, laxer laws and stuff. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. You can, each side, has its pros and cons. I'm just saying, it's just ironic to me at how, you have the people on the right say that they're all about personal freedom, but then they support the police state, and then they claim that they're the right people on the right always screaming law and order. And it's the people on the left that are the ones that are making all the laws and the rules, and the regulations and whatnot, So it's kind of funny when you look at it. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. It's already long enough. That's my video. SWP out.
She was there, all pink and gold and glittering. I threw my arms around her legs.
It's a vibe right here, big baby. Look, it's nothing less than greatness when I do this. They shut up in amazement when I do this. They hate it when I do this. It's heavily underrated when I do this. You'll second guess your favorite when I do this. I do this rap shit, y'all act as if y'all clueless. When I proved it in my music, fire on hand like a Hadouken. You niggas my juniors, this is hazardous. I'll stomp you in these Azarifs. Dogs with me like I'm Lazarus. Y'all average rappers know what's up. How I jotted is effortless. Still showing up like a false positive. Test the kid. Dropping consecutive messages. Highly respected but keep it treacherous. Written's full of excellence. This is what you call better than you have ever been. They should be charging me with negligence. They boys to me, and boys to me is levels to this. I'm levels in. They won't stitch this kind of thread again. It's over. They won't stitch this kind of thread. No, they won't stitch this kind of thread again. This is what you call better than you have ever been. Zeus's in the kitchen, back to whipping up the medicine. And I'm levels in. But yet again, this was Fred the God sent. I got his spirit with me when I'm testing y'all pen. Been here since the beginning, where the hell have y'all been? This Wi-Fi must be tripping, where the hell the bars went? My repertoire stems from killing records, written records, different records, Spanish records, English records. I ghostwrite for the record, come get a record. Just cash app your life savings and I'll send a record. I give respect, but if I'm feeling disrespected, you gon' get the text since I'm tryna send a message. These lyrics have been perfected, been respected, and since you really ain't doing it right, you've been corrected. Check it, I'm just readying for my second win. Be intelligent, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is what you call better than you have ever been. They should be charging me with negligence. They boys to me, and boys to me is levels to this. I'm levels in. They won't stitch this kind of thread again. It's over. They won't stitch this kind of thread. No, they won't stitch this kind of thread again. This is what you call better than you have ever been. Zeus's in the kitchen, back to whipping up the medicine. And I'm levels in.